Fellow fighters, welcome back. Scotty Combat here, and let's talk about Mortal Kombat 9 and the 3D era games being in the Legacy Collection. Now, I just want to be straight up and jump right into it that it doesn't look like Mortal Kombat 9 is going to be in the Legacy Collection. There's a very recent interview of Fate doing an interview with Stephen Frost of Digital Eclipse. If you haven't seen the interview, I highly recommend you check it out for all the hints that there is in this video. I would say the biggest giveaway in this interview is Stephen Frost saying with any issues they're having in development would be with things like licensing issues. And I think the first thing that most of us Mortal Kombat fans think of when it comes to any Mortal Kombat game having any issues with licensing is MK9. MK9 and Freddy Krueger. However, it's not all bad news, and there is some really interesting details in that interview. Just for starters, the games we are getting in the arcade era are going to have some quality of life changes, and the exciting thing is, if things go well, there may be a future for more games from Digital Eclipse with Mortal Kombat. So when it comes to the thought process of it, I really think there's a chance for the 3D era, and I mean the 3D era games actually having the net rollback code and being able to play them online. And let's think about this for a minute. Really, it's not bad that we're not getting MK9. That is, those of us that enjoy the 3D era. If things go well, it would still go in order. So say MK9 were possible. What if they go ahead and do things in order if things go well, right? We're already getting the arcade games, and it seems to be going in order. And at first, when I thought of the 3D era being like a DLC pack, I thought, well, why would they release the 3D era as a DLC pack? I think they would really make that a second volume, so we would have a Legacy Collection 1 and a Legacy Collection 2. What better way to canonically revisit the games in order as well? So even if we're not getting MK9 right now, I think that's fine, because why not go through the games in order? I know there's a group of people that don't want to hear me say that right now, because some people just want to jump straight to MK9, because there really are people that don't like the 3D era. And trust me, I get that to a degree because MK9 is a masterpiece. But I still love the 3D era games. I want to experience the 3D era games as well. And with that being said, the reason I think we'll see the 3D era games as DLC being more of a possibility now is because not so many people are fond of the 3D era. If it's more cost effective to make the 3D era DLC, if that's what makes sense, then I could see that being in addition to the Legacy Collection rather than being a second volume in its own. Unfortunately, the 3D era is the most controversial series in Mortal Kombat, I would say, aside from MK vs. DC and MK1. Now, those are some pretty heavy controversies. I don't know if the 3D era games as an entirety is really that controversial, but no doubt between arcade, 3D era, and NRS era, the 3D era is the one that gets the most mixed reviews. I do still think there is a possibility Deadly Alliance could be in this Legacy Collection already. This would be a really good cliffhanger if they gave us Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance in this Legacy Collection, because we already know we're going to get the handheld port, right? So why not give us the first 3D era game, especially for those that are new to the Mortal Kombat games, if they play it and they go, okay, this isn't too bad. What's all the hype with Deception? So many people would then be asking for Deception. There's already a lot of people that want to see a re-release or a remaster of Deception anyway. For those that aren't too savvy with the 3D era, Deception is the one that shines the most. I say that in terms of popularity. I'm not saying it's actually better than Armageddon or Deadly Alliance or MK vs. DC. Some people, that's their favorite in MK. I'm not saying Deception is better than Deadly Alliance or Armageddon, it is just the one that sticks out more than the other ones. Me personally, I say Deadly Alliance gives it a good run for its money. That may sound surprising because Armageddon has the biggest roster, Deadly Alliance has some limitations, but I'm looking at this from the story perspective and the gameplay perspective and how clean Deadly Alliance feels when you play it. There is a difference in game mechanic between Deception and Deadly Alliance. Now, this is a conversation I can get lost in on its own. I do want to get this back on track. Deadly Alliance main ports aren't on the Legacy Collection already, that is being the PlayStation and Xbox, then yes, I could see these being potential DLC games later on. Again, I say that because Digital Eclipse is leaving the door open for future development if things go well. And I gotta say, that's pretty huge, and I'm sure WB wouldn't mind having the extra production help with Mortal Kombat, especially given with how slow content was coming out with MK1, which that's another thing, we do have a new vice president, I did cover that in a previous video. video, if you haven't seen that, do check that one out. As controversial as this new vice president of Mortal Kombat may be to some fans, in my opinion, I just say we'll have to wait and see. I can think of a lot of good things that can come from it right now. Just to quickly catch you up, Shaun Hemmerick is the vice president of Mortal Kombat now. It is its own division. I wonder about that because I'm not sure if he became vice president before Digital Eclipse jumped in to do this project or afterwards. I bring that up because Shaun Hemmerick has been around since Shaolin Monks and Deadly Alliance. The reason I'm saying let that sink in for a good reason is because he was a part of the production team, right? As well as understanding the software. Now, since Shaun was in lead production, he understands the development process, and now he's also in charge of approvals. Seriously guys, I know the road for Mortal Kombat was a little rocky here in the past year, but I really think things are going in the right direction now. We have someone that's been around since most of Mortal Kombat's existence. This guy was working directly with the 3D era games, right? So even if they aren't released in the Digital Eclipse Legacy Collection, I could see them coming in the future. Again, whether that be by DLC or a second volume, I really didn't think it was going to be possible as DLC at first. I only say that because personally, I'm not experienced with seeing collection edition games get DLC afterwards. If they sell the 3D era on its own as a volume, and then they have to look at the numbers if they're not well, it can be judged as a product on its own. Whereas if it's a DLC to an existing game, well then it's just looked at as an add-on, right? Honestly, either way we get it, I'm going to be fine with purchasing it, whether it is DLC in the Legacy Collection or if it is going to be Legacy Collection Part 2. I just really want the 3D era, and I truly think that having someone as the vice president now that was around for the 3D era and was a huge part in developing these games, be a part of that process and saying whether it happens or not, I think is great. Now, that is to be said, that doesn't mean Shaun Hemmerick loves the 3D era, I don't know that, but I will tell you I feel a hell of a lot better knowing that someone that worked on Mortal Kombat is making the decisions on it. Honestly guys, the chances are pretty slim. We're talking about corporate people making corporate decisions. One of those people now, thankfully, gets to be someone that actually worked on Mortal Kombat, and for a long time at that. Something else that's worth mentioning is the interview with Fate and Stephen Frost. Stephen Frost of Digital Eclipse said there's going to be a game in there that people really aren't going to expect to be in there. Again, I don't think that's going to be MK9 when one of the things he brought up in the interview was things that they had to get around that was difficult were licensing issues. It is still possible that they make MK9 in the future. They would just have to do it without Freddy in it. Unless they really want to try to include a new licensed version of Freddy, but honestly I think that would put a bad taste in my mouth as someone from Mortal Kombat. It still blows my mind to this day that one of the best Mortal Kombat games of all time is practically unattainable because of a guest character. But let's chew on that for a second that Stephen Frost said there's going to be a game in there most of us aren't expecting, because honestly I do think it's pretty predictable. We got MK1, 2, 3, and 4, then we have MK Gold, Mythologies, Special Forces, and Trilogy as the 4 question marks, right? At least I don't think that's all too surprising because that is everything that was made up until and around MK4 besides the port for Deadly Alliance. Is the surprise actually going to be the main port of Deadly Alliance, putting a 3D era game in there? Now I'm not really leaning heavy on it, but it does make me wonder. Unless we got the whole 3D era package in there without having to get it as DLC. As exciting as that sounds, I would love that. It's really hard to fathom how amazing that would be to get every Mortal Kombat game up to MK9. Reeling it back in, if any of the 3D games are coming, I do think they'll do Deadly Alliance, especially since we already have a port for it seen. I do gotta share this either way if we get Deadly Alliance or not, that I'm still really happy that I have a very confident feeling we'll be getting Mortal Kombat Trilogy. I can play the hell out of some MK Trilogy. All the 3D era games had online access except for Deadly Alliance, so I'm really crossing my fingers we can see Deadly Alliance online. So based off the interview and it sounding like we're not getting MK9 right now, it still feels like there's a chance that we're going to get the 3D era games, and that I really do look forward to, and I do think we'll get Mortal Kombat 9 in time. And that, we just have to wait and see what happens for all of this, and I truly can't wait. That's all for this one, my friends. Like and subscribe if you're new, and if you want to further support this channel, consider becoming a channel member. I will see you all live and or in the next video. Much love everyone, and take care.